What if the single biggest financial decision of your retirement isn't about your 401,000, isn't about your house, and isn't even about the stock market, but simply about whether you claim Social Security at 62 or wait until 70? That one choice, made in a matter of minutes, can quietly cost you $250,000 over the course of your retirement, and most people never realize it until the decision is already locked in forever. Today, I'm going to walk you through the real math behind claiming at 62 versus waiting until 70. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why so many retirees get this wrong, what the hidden trade-offs really are, how a real couple navigated this exact decision, and the simple framework you can use to figure out what's right for your own situation. Stick around, because near the end, I'm going to show you a strategy that catches almost every retiree off guard, and it has nothing to do with the age you think matters most. Let's start with the basics, because this decision only makes sense once you understand how Social Security actually works. Every year you delay claiming benefits past your full retirement age, which for most people today is somewhere around 66 or 67, your monthly check grows by about 8%. That's not a typo. 8% a year, guaranteed, just for waiting. Compare that to claiming early at 62, where your check gets permanently reduced, sometimes by as much as 30%, for the rest of your life. So right away, you can see the tension. Claim early and get smaller checks starting sooner. Wait and get bigger checks starting later. Simple, right? Well, here's where things get interesting, because the real decision is much more emotional and much more complicated than a simple percentage. Picture this. You've worked for 40 years. You've raised a family. You've paid into the system your entire adult life. And now, you're standing at the door of retirement, tired, ready. And someone tells you that you should keep waiting for a bigger check 8 years from now. It feels almost unnatural. Most people's instinct screams, "Take the money now." And honestly, that instinct isn't wrong for everyone, but it is wrong for a lot of people, and that mistake is exactly what we're unpacking today. Here's a number that surprises almost everyone I talk to. If you compare claiming at 62 versus waiting until 70, and you live into your mid-80s or beyond, the total lifetime difference in benefits can easily be $200,000 or more for an individual, and for a couple it can climb well past $250,000. That's not a small rounding error. That's the difference between struggling in your final years and living with real financial breathing room. But here's the catch that almost nobody talks about. This math only works out if you actually live long enough to benefit from waiting. And that uncertainty is exactly why so many retirees freeze up and make the wrong call out of fear instead of clarity. We'll come back to that in just a moment. But first, let's talk about why this mistake happens in the first place. It's not because people are careless. It's because the system is confusing, and most retirees never get a clear explanation of the trade-offs before they're forced to decide. Many people claim at 62 simply because they're afraid Social Security might run out, or because they've heard scary headlines about the program's future. Others claim early because they lost a job in their early 60s and needed income immediately. And some people claim early simply because everyone around them did the same thing, so it felt like the normal choice. None of these reasons are foolish. They're human. But fear and pressure are not the same thing as a plan. And that's exactly where the expensive mistakes creep in. Now, let's build on that with a real example. Because numbers on a screen mean a lot more when you can see them play out in someone's actual life. Meet Robert and Linda Callahan, a fictional couple from Ohio, both 62 years old, who spent their careers as a high school teacher and a small business bookkeeper. Between the two of them, they'd saved about $400,000 across a $401,000 and a traditional IRA, along with the small Roth IRA Linda had started in her 40s. Robert's full Social Security benefit at 67 was estimated at $2,400 a month. Linda's was around $1,800. Like a lot of couples, they sat down at the kitchen table trying to decide what to do. And Robert, feeling the pull of finally being done with work, wanted to claim as soon as he turned 62. Here's where many people accidentally make an expensive mistake. and Robert almost did too. If he had claimed at 62, his monthly check would have dropped to around $1,700, locked in for life. Instead, after talking with the financial advisor, they realized something important. Because Linda's health history suggested strong longevity in her family, and because they had enough savings to cover their early retirement years without touching Social Security immediately, they decided on a different strategy. Robert claimed early at 62 to bring in some income while Linda kept working part-time. And they used a portion of their IRA savings to bridge the gap so that Linda could delay her own benefit all the way until 70. When Linda's benefit kicked in at 70, it had grown to nearly $3,200 a month, guaranteed for the rest of her life. With cost of living increases every single year, this brings us to another important point that most people completely miss. Social Security decisions aren't just about you. If you're married, this becomes a household decision, because when one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse keeps the higher of the two benefits, not both. That means delaying the higher earner's benefit doesn't just grow their own check, it also protects whichever spouse lives longer. For Robert and Linda, this meant that no matter who passed away first, the survivor would have Linda's larger, delayed benefit to lean on for the rest of their life. That single decision may end up being worth well over $100,000 in extra lifetime income for whichever of them lives longest. Let's talk about why this matters beyond the spreadsheet. Because retirement isn't really about numbers. It's about peace of mind. It's about being able to help your grandchildren without stress. It's about traveling without constantly checking your bank balance. It's about knowing that if a major medical expense shows up, you're not one bad year away from financial trouble. Social Security is one of the only guaranteed, inflation-protected income sources most retirees will ever have. And that guarantee becomes incredibly valuable the older you get, especially once healthcare costs and Medicare premiums start eating into fixed incomes. Now here's something many people overlook completely, and it ties directly into Medicare. Your income and retirement, including how and when you draw from IRAs and 401ks, can affect what's called IRMAA, which stands for Income-Related Monthly Adjustment Amount. In plain English, if your income crosses certain thresholds, your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums can jump significantly. This is where delaying Social Security while strategically drawing down retirement accounts in your early 60s can actually help you manage your taxable income more efficiently, potentially keeping you under those Medicare surcharge thresholds. Most retirees have no idea these two systems are connected until it's too late, and they get hit with the surprise premium increase. So, how do you actually decide what's right for you? This is where most retirees get stuck, because nobody ever hands you a clear way to think it through. Let's fix that right now with a simple framework. First, consider your health and family longevity. If you come from a family where people commonly live into their 80s and 90s, delaying often makes strong financial sense, because you have more years to collect that bigger check. Second, consider your other income sources. If you have enough savings, a pension, or part-time income to cover your expenses in your 60s, delaying Social Security becomes far more realistic, since you're not forced to lean on it right away. Third, think about marital protection. If you're married, protecting the surviving spouse with a larger guaranteed benefit is often one of the smartest moves you can make, because that decision quietly protects your family for decades after you're gone. Fourth, be honest about your need for income right now. If you truly need the money at 62, claiming early isn't a mistake, it's simply reality. And there's no shame in that. The goal isn't to chase the perfect age everyone talks about online. The goal is to match the decision to your actual life. Later, I promised you a strategy that catches most retirees completely off guard, and here it is. Many people assume this is an all-or-nothing choice. Claim early or wait until 70. But the real power move, like we saw with Robert and Linda, often a mixed strategy. One spouse claims earlier for immediate income, while the other delays for maximum growth. The single adjustment can dramatically increase lifetime household income while still providing cash flow during the earlier retirement years. It's rarely discussed because it requires a bit more planning, but it's often the most powerful tool available to married couples. Before we wrap up, let's quickly go through a simple mental checklist you can use every year as you approach this decision, so you never feel like you're guessing again. Check your estimated benefit amounts at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70 using your Social Security statement, which you can pull up online in just a few minutes. Review your health and family history honestly, without letting fear make the decision for you. Calculate how much guaranteed income you'll need to cover your basic living expenses, separate from anything extra like travel or gifts to grandkids. Talk with your spouse about survivor protection if you're married, because this conversation is just as important as any spreadsheet. And consider how your Medicare premiums might be affected by your income strategy in those early retirement years, since a surprise IRMAA surcharge can quietly eat into the very savings you work so hard to build. None of this requires a finance degree. It just requires a little intention instead of guessing. To wrap everything up, the decision between claiming at 62 and waiting until 70 isn't really about picking a magic age. It's about understanding your own health, your own income needs, your spouse's protection, and your long-term peace of mind. Robert and Linda didn't choose the textbook answer. They chose the answer that fit their real life. And that's exactly what you should aim for too. This video is meant for educational purposes only, and your own situation is unique. So it's always worth sitting down with a qualified financial or tax professional before making a final decision. Before you go, I want to ask you something. If you had to choose today, would you claim Social Security early for peace of mind now, or delay it for a bigger check later? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And if you know someone approaching retirement who's wrestling with this exact decision, do them a favor and share this video with them. It might be the most valuable 8 minutes they spend all year. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.